rescue by the FBI of a man from here in Wake Forest 5 days ago. You won't believe the details.
We never thought it would turn out like this.
For the first time, we hear from the family injured in the State Fair Vortex accident.
We're warming up for a great weekend. I'll tell you how long we'll see 70s and higher.
WRAL News starts right now with breaking news.
We are following the developing story involving the kidnapping of a Wake Forest man and his safe return home. But first, we have some breaking news we want to get to. Hello, everyone. I'm Monica LaLiberty.
And I'm David Crabtree. Deborah Morgan has the evening off. Sky 5 was over Northgate Mall just a few moments ago, where police are there in a very large presence. We are told they responded to calls of shots fired in the area. They tell us there were shots fired in the parking lot at the mall. A deputy chased a male believed to be the suspect and caught that male, but they've not given us any additional information or a name. We will keep you posted on this breaking and developing story as we get new information.
Now to a story that is making national headlines today. 5 days after he was kidnapped from his home and taken to an Atlanta apartment, a Wake Forest man is safe tonight.
The FBI says his kidnapping was an elaborate plot. It appears to be directly related to his daughter's work as a Wake County prosecutor. Frank Janseen was reported missing on Saturday. The FBI rescued him last night from an Atlanta apartment just before midnight. 5 people were arrested. They all appeared in federal court late this afternoon. We have team coverage over the next 90 minutes. Brian Mims is in Atlanta digging up information about the suspects. Julia Sims is in the neighborhood where Janseen lives. We begin, however, with Amanda Lamb, who has more on the investigation and the motive. Amanda?
David, what an unbelievable turn of events in the last 24 hours. So many law enforcement agencies came together to make this happen. Now, the FBI won't go on record saying exactly what the motive is in this case, but they have connected some of the dots for us. They tell us the kidnappers wanted a man out of prison, a man who was put in prison by a prosecutor, the victim's daughter.
Frank Janseen's nightmare started Saturday morning when he was kidnapped and shocked with a taser at the front door of his Wake Forest home.
He spent 5 nights in the hands of a group of very dangerous people.
Monday, Janseen's wife received a text message from kidnappers threatening his life and making demands. She also received a photograph of her husband tied to a chair.
We can only imagine the uncertainty, confusion, and fear he experienced.
Behind the scenes, local, state, and federal law enforcement worked around the clock to locate Janseen.
I can tell you Mr. Janseen was targeted by a group as part of an elaborate kidnapping plot.
Investigators linked the text messages to a cell phone they say was being used by 49-year-old Kelvin Melton, an inmate at a prison in Butner.
Melton was previously prosecuted by Frank Janseen's daughter, who is an assistant district attorney, and as a result, Melton received a state sentence of life without parole.
Wednesday night, the FBI intercepted a call from kidnappers discussing how they were going to kill Janseen and bury his body. Just before midnight, they entered an apartment in Atlanta and rescued him.
I can tell you that 5 individuals have been charged with federal kidnapping charges.
And the Janseen family, we need time to heal from this horrifying experience.
Now, Janseen was checked out by a doctor immediately after he was rescued. We're told he's doing okay physically, but as you can imagine, the emotional scars from this are going to take a long time to heal. The family's asking for privacy. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll hear from the new Wake County District Attorney about how this happy ending has lifted a black cloud from the shoulders of his employees. Colleagues of the daughter of this victim say they have been praying for Janseen's safe return. Back to you.
It is an amazing story. Amanda Lamb live in Wake Forest. Thank you, Amanda. Within the past half hour, the Department of Public Safety issued a statement about cell phones in prison. Secretary Frank Perry said in part, the department is concerned and will aggressively investigate and take action against offenders and staff involved in using cell phones to conduct criminal activity from inside prison walls.
Now to Frank Janseen's neighbors who live with fear and concern for the past 5 days, wondering what happened. Police couldn't give any details of what they knew until Janseen was found. Obviously, tonight they are very relieved that he is safe. Julia Sims continues our team coverage from the neighborhood. Julia, I do imagine, though, they are still very concerned.
They certainly are. And, you know, Monica, this is a story that's garnered a lot of attention. We've seen national media here in the Heritage neighborhood throughout the day. Neighbors tell us that everyone had their own theory as to what may have happened, but I don't know if any of it really came close to the real thing. The bottom line tonight, Frank Janseen is safe and alive, and neighbors here say that makes it a good day. While Frank Janseen's home sat surrounded by crime scene tape, neighbors' thoughts understandably went to the dark side.
Oh, I was very disturbed.
But the mood in the neighborhood noticeably lightened as news spread about Janseen's rescue.
I was beginning to think, you know, it's been so long, I didn't think we were going to find him alive, but I'm very happy that we did. I've been praying for him every night.
Many neighbors didn't want to talk on camera, telling us simply they're relieved. Others, though, said questions remain.
You know, the issue's kind of solved. They found Frank, but we don't know what happened.
Law enforcement officers offered some answers about the unbelievable tale that started here in a quiet Wake Forest neighborhood. But neighbors understand they may never know all the details. The crime scene tape is gone now, but if you look closely, you can see fingerprint residue on the Janseen's front door. A reminder perhaps the story could have had a very different ending. I guess big sense of relief here.
Yeah, big sense of relief.
Now, the neighborhood is not completely back to normal. A Wake Forest police car and an unmarked SUV with 2 officers are sitting in front of a home here within the neighborhood. WRAL has learned that one of Frank Janseen's relatives lives in that house. We think those officers could be there as a security measure, but Monica, those officers aren't commenting.
Oh my gosh, I imagine not. And I just imagine everyone in that neighborhood. It's going to be a while before they have any total relief from that for sure. Thank you, Julia Sims, live in Wake Forest. Now, we are learning more about the 5 people who were arrested following Janseen's rescue. During their first appearance in federal court, we learned the entire group is from the Atlanta area. Brian Mims was in the courtroom. He will have much more on this angle tonight at 6, live from Atlanta.
Another major story this afternoon, because for the first time we are hearing publicly from the family thrown from a ride at the State Fair in October. They spoke after announcing plans to sue the ride operators and owners. Ken Smith covered the story the night of the accident last fall, and Ken joins us now with how this family is coping. Ken?
David, from looking at that family today, it's clear that the Vortex ride accident last October changed the Gorham's lives as they knew it. Keisha Gorham, some of her family members, and the family's attorney, Willie Gary, stood on the steps of the Durham County Courthouse this morning following the filing of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. The suit is against Powers Great American Midways, which brought the ride to the fair, and Family Attractions Amusement Company that operated the Vortex. The family is seeking $150 million in damages. During the final weekend of the State Fair, the Gorhams and several others were thrown from the ride when it suddenly restarted while riders were trying to get off. The ride flipped back up in the air. Some riders fell about 20 feet to the ground. Keisha Gorham says the one thing she remembers from that night is the sound. She says it's a constant memory, the loud bang, which she says was her head hitting the platform.
I've come quite a ways given my injuries. These past couple of months have been just a nightmare, pretty much. It's a nightmare. I would not wish this on anyone. It's just like Attorney Gary said, you know, we went to the fair for an enjoyable evening and never would have imagined that anything like this would have happened.
Gorham says her entire family is still recovering from the accident. Her husband, Anthony, was the most seriously injured. He suffered brain, skull, neck, and spinal cord injuries. He's had several surgeries, including brain surgery this week. He also lost sight in one eye. She says her husband has gone from the breadwinner in the family to a shell of a man. Her son, she says, used to be on the honor roll. Now his grades are suffering, and he has nightmares. She also talked about her niece, Shakima Dempsey. Gorham says she was studying to be a nurse, but because of her back injury as a result of this accident, those plans are on hold. That's not the case anymore. Well, the ride operator Tim Turturo and owner Joshua Macaroni, both from Georgia, are facing criminal charges in this case. Both are also named in that lawsuit. David.
Ken Smith reporting for us. Ken, thank you.
A Wake County man is in jail tonight accused of killing his in-laws and shooting his estranged wife with their 3 children nearby. Nathan Holden is charged with 2 counts of murder. His wife, LaTanya, is in critical condition tonight. The children were not hurt. It happened around 10 last night outside Wendell. Officers arrested Holden this morning in a field near his home. Authorities in Hope Mills are hunting for 2 gunmen who brutally assaulted employees at a fast food restaurant before then robbing the place. It happened just before 2 Monday morning at the McDonald's across from Jack Britt High School. Security video shows 2 masked gunmen rushing behind the counter. Investigators say they flashed handguns, roughed up employees, and took money from a safe. They locked the workers in a walk-in cooler before making their getaway with the cash.
Yeah, breaking news now is the man who caused another car to crash into an Orlando daycare has surrendered. 1 child died, several others injured in the accident yesterday. Authorities say Robert Corchedo hit the car that drove into the kinder care. He immediately drove off in his SUV. A couple of hours later, his Durango was found abandoned nearby. 4-year-old Lily Quintus died. 14 others were hurt. 1 remains in critical condition. What motivated a Pennsylvania teenager to go on a stabbing rampage at his high school remains a mystery. His lawyers, however, say he was not a loner and rarely got into trouble. 16-year-old Alex Herbal is charged as an adult. Investigators say he used 2 ordinary kitchen knives to stab and slash 21 students and a security guard. All are expected to survive. The school will likely remain closed until Monday.
Lots of new information out today about the General Motors recall involving 2.6 million cars. The automaker says another part needs repair, a replacement of ignition lock cylinders that allow drivers to remove the key while the engine is running. The initial recall involved a faulty ignition switch that can cause sudden stalling. Also today, 2 GM engineers are now on paid leave because of that ignition switch recall. The action stems from the automaker's internal investigation into why it took more than 10 years to recall the cars. Congress is also investigating.
A rough day on Wall Street, to say the least. The Dow meltdown, falling 266 points today. The S&P losing 39, and the Nasdaq had its worst day since 2011, dropping 129 points.
Well, it coats cars and sidewalks and has allergy sufferers and sneezing attacks.
Yeah, and in 3 minutes, the WRAL health team helps all of us fight back against pollen. Dr. Mask will tell us when to use over-the-counter meds and when it's time to see a specialist.
Plus, just a week ago, David Letterman announced he's retiring. Well, today, CBS named his replacement. Who it is and what Letterman has to say about him. Greg.
All right, Monica, temperatures finally got to above normal levels this afternoon, and now that we've accomplished that feat, it looks like we're going to be seeing several encores. We'll let you know how long the warm weather will last coming up.
New numbers out today show 2 more people in North Carolina died from flu-related illness this season. State health leaders say the total number of deaths is now at 98. Flu season ends in about a month.
You know, we had a long and hard winter. We all complained about it here. However, believe it or not, many people hope spring wouldn't get here because for them, it just means congestion, sneezing, coughing, and a runny nose. I sound like a commercial. WRAL's Dr. Alan Mask shows us how people with the most difficult to treat allergies can find relief.
Okay, now blow out.
Jenny Alice recently learned she has asthma, and her spring allergies only make the symptoms worse.
Lots of blurry eyes, runny noses, coughing.
More than half of all spring allergy patients respond to over-the-counter allergy medications. You can even use some saline nasal sprays to help as well. If those medications don't work, see your doctor for a prescription medication that might help.
If they're having more significant symptoms and they're not getting good control with the more commonly prescribed medications, even the nasal steroid sprays as well, then that's a good time to come in to see the allergist.
Alice is getting a skin or scratch test. Each needle prick contains specific allergens, and the results can be determined after just 15 minutes.
And then I'm allergic to pollen, grass, lots of mold, and a lot of trees.
With confirmed allergies, patients can begin a series of allergy shots.
But basically what we're doing is retraining the body's immune system so that it doesn't recognize the pollens as a danger.
It's 1 to 2 shots per week for 6 months, then 1 shot per month for 3 to 5 years. Most patients will notice long-lasting improvement for 20 years or longer. Ellis will be thankful for immediate relief.
I hope so. I hope it will make my life a whole lot easier to take.
The first line of treatment of spring allergies is to avoid the allergens altogether. Stay indoors as much as you can. Keep your windows closed in your car as well as at home. Use a high-quality allergy filter in your ventilation system, and when cutting the grass, use a mask. I'm Dr. Alan Mass with the WRAL Health Team.
And unfortunately, the worst is still to come, because if you think the tree pollens are bad, Dr. Mass says in another couple of weeks, when grass pollens will become a problem for spring allergy sufferers, it will be equally as tough. Now, I was out today. This is really a red tie, but because of all the pollen you see, it has turned yellow.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I like that. Mm-hmm. I know that some backsides are yellow because anywhere you sit is yellow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well.
Yes. What have you got to say to that?
At least you've got the cold weather in the rearview mirror for now.
Yes.
And looks like it'll.
Not. You did.
I did.
Not.
I did. But we'll do a posterior modem on all this later. But let's go on ahead and start off with the Skycam as we look toward downtown. And it almost has a little bit of a hazy look to it, doesn't it? Almost looks like a summertime day there. We made it up to 74, and we're back down to 73 now, but still very close to the high temperature for the day. The wind out of the west-southwest at 12 miles per hour. And the air continues to be very dry. The dew point temperature at 37, and so that gives us a relative humidity of 27%. So not much chance of getting any rain in that kind of an environment. As we take a look at temperatures in and around Wake County, pretty uniform, and you would expect that again with sunshine and a rather stiff breeze. Keeps the atmosphere well mixed and more uniform in nature, and more homogeneous, I guess would be the scientific word. And then as we broaden the view a little bit, we really don't see that much of a range even on this scale. 72 at Roxborough, 77 down here in Fayetteville. All right, the satellite and the radar mosaic. You see this band of clouds and associated showers up here. This is an association with a cold front that is in large part going to pass by to our north. At least the push of cool air will. The boundary itself will barely get down to the North Carolina-Virginia border or maybe into North Carolina before losing its definition. But the real cooling with this will go by way to the north, so it really isn't going to have any great influence on our weather this weekend. It may produce a little bit more in the way of cloud cover, but that'll be about it. And we're going to have to wait for a stronger cold front to get here early next week. And let's talk about that right now. Now, what you're going to be looking at here is an average of 50 computer models, and we're looking at the 24-hour temperature change from 2 p.m. to 2 p.m. each day, or each successive day. So as we take a look at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, this is how much the temperature is likely to change from today at 2 to tomorrow at 2. And you can see this band of blue indicating cooling here. This is the same front that we see on the satellite and the radar imagery here. But look what happens to the real push of cooling as we head on into Saturday. It barely gets to the North Carolina-Virginia border, most of the significant cooling up to our north, and then we have a resurgence of warming moving by on Sunday. So our temperatures probably will go up a little bit tomorrow, maybe level off Saturday, and then go up a little bit more on Sunday. But look at this. Next big blast of cold air, at least by mid-April standards, beginning to sink southward across the plains, and then it begins to make a move to the south and east, so that by the time we get to Tuesday afternoon, it's definitely knocking at the door, and temperatures will turn much colder here late Tuesday and on into Wednesday. The good news is it'll only last a couple of days. By the end of the week, it looks like much of the country will be beginning to warm up. But we've been talking for 3 days now about the potential for frost as we head toward the middle and end of next week. And that frost threat is still very, very real. So for those of you that are affected by that type of thing, you'll definitely want to keep tabs beginning the early part of next week about how cold it is likely to get. So 8 o'clock this evening, 66 degrees, clear skies, pleasant conditions with a relatively light southwest wind, and then late tonight down to about 50. And then tomorrow we're looking for a good deal of sunshine, maybe maybe some high clouds as we head into the mid and late afternoon, but it isn't going to take away from the niceness of the day. 52 at 8 a.m., 70 at noon, and then 78 as we conclude the day. 78 Saturday, 80 on Sunday. And by the way, for the Rock and Roll Marathon, everything looking wonderful. Temperatures even at 7 o'clock in the morning in the mid-50s and then low 70s as we head toward the late afternoon. Still fairly mild Monday, but mostly cloudy. Good chance of showers and a few thunderstorms Monday night into Tuesday, and then much cooler with highs only near 60 and lows down into the 30s. Maybe some frost in some areas by the middle of the week.
Okay, Greg, thank you.
Thanks. Well, crews looking for the missing Malaysian jet detect another signal. Just ahead, what's next to help them locate that black box?
And we're just 2 days away from the Rock and Roll Marathon. And tonight at 5:30, we're going to take you back to New Orleans to show you what runners and fans can expect on race day. They've raced this race before there.
A quick update for you now on that breaking news at Northgate Mall in Durham. Police are investigating reports of shots fired there. Durham police tell us that it happened in the parking lot. It all started around 4 o'clock this afternoon. A deputy chased a suspect, then caught him. No one was hurt. A vehicle was damaged, though. You can see there is a large police presence at the scene there. We do have a crew on the way gathering information. Of course, we will keep you up to date on WRAL and WRAL.com.
It didn't take long for CBS to name the replacement for David Letterman. Comedy Central Stephen Colbert will take over the Late Show next year. Signed a 5-year deal. When the South Carolina native takes over, he won't be doing the same character who hosts the Colbert Report. That character will retire. Letterman announced retirement plans for himself 1 week ago. He said in a statement, "Stephen has always been a real friend to me. I'm very excited for him, and I'm flattered that CBS chose him." A timetable for the changeout has not yet been announced.
Excited about that. Well, the May primary is still a couple of weeks away, but tomorrow is the deadline to register to vote. Because of new laws in North Carolina, you can no longer register to vote and then vote on the same day. So this year's deadline is tomorrow. We have a link to register along with Q&A about the changes to voting laws on WRAL.com.
Crews searching for signs of the missing Malaysia airplane have detected another signal in the Indian Ocean. The Australian Air Force has been dropping sonar buoys into the water near where 4 earlier sounds were heard. Authorities say the signals appear to be coming from a man-made device. Searchers hope to pinpoint the object's location and send a robotic submarine underwater to confirm if, in fact, this is the black box from the missing jet. Gerald Owens is here now with more on a deadly domestic dispute in Wake County. Gerald?
David, next at 5:30, he's accused of killing his in-laws and shooting his wife.
A local man behind bars accused of shooting 3 people, killing 2 of them. What the sheriff told me about this protective order that was taken out in hopes of protecting them.
Plus, they are new and smokeless, but are they safe? What experts are saying about e-cigarettes. Mike?
Well, Gerald, we had a fine day around here. How about in Wilmington? Here's a look at our Wilmington camp. There's the Cape Fear River. There's Market Street and the riverfront. They're getting ready for their Azalea Festival this weekend. We're getting ready for the Rock and Roll Marathon here. Will the weather cooperate with both festivals and activities this weekend? We'll talk about that in the forecast coming up. Stay with us.
WRAL talked to his girlfriend about his character and relationship with the victim. Mike?